Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Some massive news for the Michigan State fans coming from the transfer portal as former Oregon defensive lineman Ben Roberts committing to Jonathan Smith and this Michigan State program. And we've talked about this for Michigan State over the last couple of weeks. The inside of that defensive line being a priority for Michigan State, and many of the Michigan State fans who've been listening for the last couple of weeks, I've been banging the table for this kid. He's played 82 snaps during his college football career, but a couple of weeks ago, really balled out in that Oregon spring game. Looked like he was going to be a contributor for the Oregon Ducks. He hits the transfer portal, and I think Michigan State, kind of finds a diamond in the rough with Ben Robertson, kind of gives you exactly what you're looking for if you're Michigan State on the inside of the defensive line. 6'2", 310 pounds. Kind of has that fire hydrant build. He can take on double teams. And although Ben Roberts is probably not going to be a guy that fills up the stat sheet in terms of 10 tackles for loss, 10 sacks in a year, he's going to be a guy in this defense that makes this Michigan State defense better. He's going to do the dirty work. He's going to eat up those double teams. And I think most importantly, something we talked about the other day, you look at this Michigan State linebacker room, probably the best position group on this Michigan State team. These linebackers got to be fired up about a guy like Ben Roberts playing in front of them. I think their linebackers are going to be able to play a little bit more clean because of Ben Roberts. Ben Roberts, one of those guys that his value to Michigan State is not necessarily going to show up in the box score, but it's probably going to show up in the box score for some of those linebackers who can play a little bit more downhill, play a little bit more free. I'm fired up about this move, a guy that I'm a massive fan of, really dating back since he was coming out of high school. Want to get into, what Ben Roberts brings to this Michigan State defense, talk about what they're doing in the transfer portal before we get into it. And as always, just want to say thank you to you guys, to the Michigan State fans. And it's been a blast talking this program over the last couple of weeks, and the amount of support you guys continue to show to the fellas truly does mean a lot. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And without further ado, let's get into Ben Roberts, who, I think in probably early next week, we're going to do a film study on Ben Roberts, because you go back to that Oregon spring game, we recap that one. Ben Roberts looked awesome. And again, not a guy that has a ton of tape in terms of playing Saturdays in the fall, but a guy that if you watch that spring game, which I am sure Michigan State probably took a look at, there's a lot to like about what Ben Roberts brings to the table. And a guy that's going into year 3 of his college football career, that's, normally when you start to see these kind of defensive linemen really start playing some good football. And a couple things else I want to note is, not only do I think Ben Roberts can be a proven contributor for this Michigan State program in 2024, something we talked about in terms of what Michigan State is doing in the transfer portal. Ben Roberts is a guy that has 3 years of eligibility remaining, right? He's only going into his redshirt sophomore year. So we talked about this the other day. Jonathan Smith doing a really nice job plugging some gaps in terms of using the portal, getting some veteran talent on this team. But there is also a lot of young talent that is coming to this Michigan State program through the portal, right? A guy like Aiden Childs, 3 years of eligibility left. You look at Ben Roberts, 3 years of eligibility remaining. You're seeing Jonathan Smith not only use the portal to make this team better in 2024, but start building this program out for 2025 and in 2026 as well. And I also have to give a massive shout out to Coach Demetrius Martin coming over from Oregon. That was, kind of a hire that I think flew under the radar. This Coach Martin, not only a phenomenal player developer, but a guy that brings a ton of juice to this Michigan State program on the recruiting trail as well. And having ties to having coached at Oregon, no doubt was probably the guy that got this commitment done for a guy like Ben Roberts. It sounds like he's making some moves with some other guys as well in the portal. I think Michigan State, this is a big one for them. And I want to talk about one other name just so Michigan State fans can be familiar. Kobe Minor, coming from Indiana, on campus for Michigan State. Sounds like they're in a really good spot for Kobe Minor too. You might even see him commit over the next 24 hours. Former Indiana cornerback that played over 615 snaps for Indiana last year. Take a look at some of the numbers. Faced 31 targets, only gave up 18 catches, a 51% completion percentage. When Kobe Minor was targeted in coverage, Michigan State's done an awesome job revamping this secondary. You have a lot of talent in that safety room. I think you wanted to add some experience in the cornerback room. You look at guys like Ed Woods, the transfer from UNC, potentially Kobe Minor, and you're saying, I mean, we feel really good about this secondary as well. And you kind of look across the board. Yes, Michigan State lost some bodies on the inside of the defensive line. I think their linebacker room gets better. I think their secondary gets better. Their quarterback position certainly getting better. I think for Michigan State fans, you got to be pretty happy about what Jonathan Smith is doing in the portal. And for Michigan State fans, you kind of know that it's only going to go up from here. I've been vocal that Jonathan Smith, I think, is really the perfect head coach for this job. We'll continue to update you guys as Michigan State continues to do work on the recruiting trail in the portal. Appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas. Again, it's been a blast talking this program. Can't thank you guys enough for all the support. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.